Hello everybody, welcome to a completely different video than what you're used to, and it's gonna be about AuDHD. And in case you don't know what that means, it's a combination of ADHD and autism. And they found in recent years that a lot of people who have one also tend to have the other, and I think it's also a bit of a sliding scale there. Like if you have both, or like I suspect that I have, maybe you have more signs of one than the other. And for myself, I think that I am mostly like what shows in my behavior and my patterns and whatever is the autism side. I think is more strongly represented, and other things like is more ADHD, like a 20-80% division maybe, or maybe 30-70, whichever. And so I wanted to make a couple of videos on that, and starting with why do I think I have it? Well, the thing is, I've always thought that I was weird, different, and up until recently, I'm currently 45, so it's been a long time, I thought it was just a me problem. Like, I'm just weird, I've had certain things happen in my past, I've been bullied a lot, so probably I'm kind of like warped a little bit, and that's why I'm a little bit less sociable or something. Like, I was blaming mostly myself and my experiences for the issues that I was having. And those were mostly social issues, still are, and also just not understanding things sometimes and reacting in ways that people don't expect and things like that. And then I started noticing things on YouTube. Videos started popping up about, hey, maybe you're autistic. Like there were, I don't know how I ended up on that part of YouTube, but I started seeing more and more of those videos. And of course, I watched a few of them. So then you get more and more of those videos. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting. There are certain things that I relate to in those videos, certain like characteristics that I relate to. But there were other things that I did not relate to. Like one of the main things that they always say, like if you think that you're on the spectrum, then one of the ways you can tell is because you just don't get, oh, hello, just don't get certain social interactions. You don't understand people, blah, blah, blah. Like that's one of the main things. And I always kind of was able to read the room, but I would not be able to react in an appropriate manner. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm not autistic because I don't have that. And there's a lot of things with people who are trying to figure out if they're autistic or not, with like self-doubt, like maybe it's not, like the whole imposter syndrome thing comes into play. So for a while it's like, yeah, I have some traits, but maybe I'm like kind of on the scale, but kind of not. And I did a whole bunch of those tests you can get, the CatQ ones and the ASPE quiz and all those. There's like a whole list of like 6 or 7 of those. I did all of them, and most of them I was just like on the scale, like, yeah, you're definitely on there, but like if this were the cutoff point, I would be a little bit over it, like that. So I kind of got those types of results, and I figured, you know what, if I get myself tested by a psychologist, they're going to say, nah, I mean, you do understand when certain people are mad or what certain facial expressions mean, so you can't be autistic. Like, I figured that trying to get a diagnosis wasn't going to work. So for that time, I just kind of like looked at some autism videos, and I kind of privately to myself thought like, yeah, I kind of do have some, I'm kind of on the spectrum, so I need to keep an eye on that. Like, it kind of explains some of the stuff that had happened in the past, but not entirely. And then I saw a video about AuDHD, and I was like, hey, this makes more sense. Like, I did notice, like, it does state that people with AuDHD, due to their autism, have a better understanding, quote unquote, of social situations and things like that. So they can see that, and they can be more socially reactive, I guess, if that's the right word. I don't know. Like a better understanding of that. But there's still issues. And with the ADHD side in particular, you would see things like interests that change quickly, but when you have the interest, you're all about that one thing. You're digging into that one thing, and then something else comes up and you start digging into the other thing. And I do notice that with myself. Like in particular, this year, I suddenly became very interested in planning and the planning community. And the whole first start of the year was all gathering planners, like gathering different things, gathering different materials. And then it's like, oh, hey, people in the pen community are also interested in fountain pens. Oh, I got to look into the fountain pens. And oh, there's all these different types of paper. Oh, I got to get all the different types of paper, and I got to try out all these different types of tools. And of course, if you've seen my other videos on the channel, I also have a whole bunch of different tools for making my own custom inserts and things like that. Like I started gathering all of this stuff about planners and everything around that, and then that later switched to ring binders, and then I got a bunch of file effects, and then I got a bunch of success agendas, and then I started to look up all the different types of ring binders that are out there, and I wanted to get a time effects, I wanted to get a mulberry, got a couple of mulberries down there as well. So all these different things started to make me think maybe I have AuDHD, because with autism spectrum disorder, you tend to have a certain focus. Like certain people that are on there, like the stereotypical thing is people might be interested in trains or in horses or in computers and stuff like that, and they know everything about that one topic. You can ask them about the topic and then you don't have to come up with any further questions for the rest of the day, because the entire conversation is going to be about that. And I've never seen myself do that because of the AuDHD, because with ADHD you get rejection sensitivity. Maybe people on the autism spectrum have that as well, but I notice that a lot with myself. If I notice with my somewhat social awareness that somebody that I'm talking to is not interested in the topic that I'm talking about, I rattle through whatever I want to say and then it's done. I'm not going to talk to them about that anymore, because I think that I'm sensing that they're not interested in hearing about planners. And then I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I don't want to annoy people. And I'm still privately very much interested in these things, but I'm not going to talk about it because they just don't seem interested, and therefore I need to not talk about planners. I could talk about anything else but that, so to speak. And if I've tried a couple of different topics with somebody and I keep getting a similar blank stare or something, then after a while I won't have much to talk about, and then I'm just not going to be able to talk about my weekend because all I do is the stuff that I think they're not interested in. So I'm not going to mention that, like that type of thing. So I have that weird thing going on. So rejection sensitivity plus hobbies that I think people aren't interested in means Monday mornings are awkward because I can't tell people about my weekend much other than the standard stuff that I do every weekend. So there's that. And other things that I noticed in my past that definitely point towards the autism spectrum is that I used to be extremely naive. I still am in certain aspects, but I've learned a little bit to like mask that and to maybe be a bit more suspicious of people, because I get more suspicious of people's intentions as I grow older, because I've been burned in the past. But I would do things that are not socially acceptable and would lead me to trouble. Like one of the main things that comes to mind is I would like to give people gifts, right? And that sounds like a fun thing to do. Oh, it's nice when somebody likes to gift you gifts. But I would get into trouble because I would know a person and I would know that they would be interested in a certain type of thing. And I would be walking around town and I'd see that type of thing. And I'd be like, hey, this person likes this thing. Let me buy it for them. And then I would buy the thing, I would give it to them, and then they would get this awkward look from them like, yeah, thanks. Like, what is it that they're trying to say with this gift type of thing? And I've had people start to tell me like, oh, hey, I have a boyfriend, I have a girlfriend or whatever. And I'd be like, okay, cool, I guess. And then afterwards I'd be like, oh my God, they think I'm flirting with them because I'm giving them gifts that normal people wouldn't do. Like, most people don't just randomly give other people gifts if there's no occasion. So I stopped doing that. But I would also go to certain stores and be very interested in the store, and I would go there at least once a week, sometimes several times a week, because I spent some time living downtown, so those stores would be like right around the corner from me. And I had one particular very awkward interaction. There was this gift store that had mostly like Chinese stuff in there. And people that operated the store, I think, were also Chinese, and I can't read Chinese. So I'd be very interested in all the stuff that was in there, like very curious, like what does this say, what does that say? So I'd grab a couple of things and like be interested in buying them, and I asked them before I bought them, like, what does this say? And the person who ran the store was a guy, and after a while he got kind of like snippy, I guess. Like he would be like, oh yeah, that says something about friendship. Like, okay, fine. Okay, cool, thanks for telling me. And then after a while, I took one of my best friends with me to the same store to show it to them. And turns out that they were about to like wrap everything up in the store. They were going to move. They were telling my friend about the store as well as I was looking through the stuff. And then at one point during that conversation that my friend was having with the store owner goes very loudly, yeah, I'm starting a new store in another town with my girlfriend, like really expressly yelling that into the store as in, I have a girlfriend, like leave me alone. And at that moment, I was like, oh shit, he thinks I'm flirting with him because I'm asking all about the stuff that's in the store. So that was really, really awkward. But I never intend to flirt with people when I do these things. So that's something that's I just wasn't socially aware of. So apparently you can't ask too many questions of people because then they think you're flirting. Don't do that. You can't give them gifts when they're not expecting it because they think you're flirting. Don't do that. Like, stuff like that kept happening in my life. Also, constantly showing up for people's houses to like hang out with them, thinking that they would like that. And then of course after a while those interactions get awkward because they don't really want to spend every week on a certain date with you, a couple hours, like not having that insight until it's too late and people are already annoyed with you, and then it's like unable to stop that without things getting too awkward. And it's like all or nothing with me in that regard. Like if I think that they don't want to see me anymore, then I'm just not gonna go there anymore. Like that's it, friendship over, done. Like things like that happened a lot in my past, like things that just made it difficult for me also to have social interactions with people. I was bullied throughout my entire school career from start to finish. Like all the different schools I've been to have had some type of bullying. I think the only time that I did not get bullied was when I was already like an adult and I went to a vocational training for like IT management or IT like not manager style, but just like tech support, like that type of thing. So we started off with a group of about 10 people in that class, and they were all adults, and after a while, less and less people started showing up, so I get less and less peers in my class, and after a while, I think the second year, I was the only person still doing the course because everybody else had kind of like left. They thought that they could spend their time better elsewhere. And so eventually I was the only person in my class, so there's no bullying if you're the only person in your class, because then it's just you and the teacher. And I've always been somebody who very faithfully does the exercise exactly as it says you should. So all of my teachers were happy with my work, so there was never any issues with that. So that was also kind of awkward in a way that I was the only one left. I was the only one of my class to accept the diploma during the whole graduation ceremony. Now, I wasn't the only person there. There were other classes receiving their diplomas that day, but they did have to expressly mention that when before calling me on stage, like, oh, there's the only person still left their class, so ha ha ha. And then I was like, okay, that's kind of awkward, but still, you know, it's also interesting to note that that was a thing. But yeah, stuff like that kept happening, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a thing with me, like maybe this explains all the stuff that's been going wrong in my life. Not all of it, like there's definitely been some personal choices that I made that weren't great, but like a lot of things when it comes to social interactions and just not being able to connect with people in a way that most people can, probably I'm on the spectrum. So I wanted to make a few videos about that, and this is just the introduction. And the next video that I want to make about that is how AuDHD and jobs have been treating me. So that's great. So I hope you're interested in that topic, and hope to see you in another video. In any case, make sure you have a nice day. Thanks for watching, and bye bye for now.